Trainer Joe, the weight loss coach, is reacting to JD Vance.
You mentioned Ozempic earlier.
JD, did we see this video coming? Theo Vaughn. I think that this is a good one, reacting to a very interesting Ozempic take by JD Vance. You've talked about Ozempic and given some of your thoughts, but I'm curious to see if you agree with this. Let's just call it politically incorrect. I feel like JD Vance embodies political incorrectness. Theo Vaughn and Trainer Joe.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
Okay, there's some similarities. I would agree, yes, in that sense. And I was thinking, because I was surprised too. I'm not watching JD Vance to hear about Ozempic, so I was a little surprised when they're going there. But on the Theo Vaughn show, I guess they talk about everything.
They do.
So yeah, and I think Ozempic deserves some more play here from us.
I saw this clip pop up on TikTok. It was on TikTok. I was like, oh, Trainer Joe, we got to talk about this. So let's go ahead and play it. We're going to divide it into two different clips, kind of an intro and then the more meat of it. So without further ado,
let's hear it.
Let's go.
You mentioned Ozempic earlier, which, I've known a couple of friends who've taken it. I've never taken Ozempic or, any weight loss kind of drug.
Oh, it ended up having a black market. There was somebody selling it outside of a Vineyard Vines illegally or something over there outside of Charlottesville.
Outside of Vineyard Vines.
That breaks my heart.
That's the perfect encapsulation.
It's about to get more serious, but Ozempic, Vineyard Vines, they're laughing because Vineyard Vines is that kind of preppy high school, college persona.
Right.
I've never worn Vineyard Vines myself, so I'm in the clear.
I actually have on a Vineyard Vines.
Is this Vineyard?
No, I don't do it. I don't even know what they are. First I heard about them. Sorry, but no. All right, so there's somebody selling this stuff.
There's the black market
for
of Ozempic.
Why don't they just make a ton of it? I mean, if everybody wants it, imagine if we had and people might think it's even better, but a cure for baldness, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody that's bald probably going to want it, all right? It's like, you're really going to have a shortage? I mean, you can't make more. And I looked into that, and there are reasons why they don't just make more. There's a glutton of need for it, desire for it.
For Ozempic?
For Ozempic, yeah. And that's because it's the way that the drug is, it's a little more difficult just to make a ton of it. So there is a legitimate shortage, which is a little surprising. How long is that going to be? I mean, I would think we can make enough of this stuff. Not that I am a promoter of that. I'm just like, why is this such an... If it's so wonderful, saving people's lives, make some more? Come on. So it's kind of a weird thing to me that there's this amazing shortage. But there is. Okay, there is a shortage. It's legit. I'm just a little surprised.
Let's go ahead and get to JD's the main crux of his point here, and then we'll have further, deeper discussion.
I worry, okay, so America has a terrible obesity problem, okay? And I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling if your doctor tells you to take Ozempic, follow your doctor's advice, not, what you're hearing from me on a podcast.
Thick. I don't mind it a little,
What I worry about is, okay, you create a problem, and then you medicate to solve the problem instead of maybe solving the underlying problem, right? Why don't we try to understand why it is that we have a terrible obesity epidemic rather than just giving people another pill to pop?
How do you feel about JD there?
Yeah, I think he has a valid point. He said, why do we create this problem? Now, we can talk about how have we created this. Did we create this problem? I would say certainly in some ways, yes, we've created this problem.
Obesity epidemic.
Yeah, the obesity epidemic. Let's spend a minute on that. And then he says... And then we just, instead of getting to the real issue, the root of it, we just want to pop another pill. Well, that's been talked about, right? Jillian Michaels is talking about, others are talking about. It's like, man, we need to not just go here. And I remember a guy I used to listen to.
Jillian's another very anti-woke voice.
Anti-woke, yeah, as a lesbian who's anti-woke and anti-drug everything. She's going along, she would agree with that.
Yeah.
So one guy I used to listen to, he said, don't pray that God would make life easier. Pray that he would make you better, right? And so there is this idea of, should we just take the easy way? And I can understand people getting upset with that because people talk about that with the gastric bypass surgery, just the easy way. And they're like, there's nothing easy about this. Ozempic, in a way, there's not a lot easy about that either, the way it makes you feel. And one of my issues with Ozempic is, I would imagine, and I'd like to hear people's responses on this. Does it take away your joy of eating? Certainly to a degree it does, because there's times where you're not going to feel like eating that normally you would have. And how much of it is just taking away that joy of eating reminds me a little bit of somebody that has other issues and is like, how would you deal with that, right? And in the old days, your mind's having a problem, you have a lobotomy. You know, well, that wasn't necessarily it. You got somebody that's that raped somebody. You take this extreme and you castrate them, or different things. It's like, okay, certainly, maybe not a great example, but that is the thing. It's like, and that one I may go along with that one, but there's other things that we do that are not necessarily a good response to. You have this problem, do this. You overeat, do that.
Right.
Cut your stomach down to size, or take this medication, or you.
You're suggesting that we should look at this a little more seriously rather than just
Pop a pill.
Yeah, this concept rather than celebrate it because
Well, so why do we have this obesity problem? And I think that'll help us talk about. Why do you think our culture is so big, and now we're like, please, somebody save us. Bring us a pill that will save us.
And sticking in the political vein, I think of RFK, who really attributes a ton to seed oils and bad chemicals in our foods not being pure and what they should be, what they used to be. That's kind of his stick. I don't know if you've watched much RFK.
Seen some.
And I think he's definitely got a point, but I think the Trainer Joe mindset keeps it even a little more base level.
Yeah.
Which is
significantly more.
It's just easy to overeat. And our culture actually,
Yeah.
Our culture almost celebrates overeating.
Yeah. I'm not going after the seed oils and the GMOs and the processed
As much.
as nearly as much as some people that's their thing, and
Even
that's
though
fine.
We did make the episode on why is it so difficult to not be overweight, and we talked about the hyper palatable foods.
Yeah, and we give that some play, but even
Some
hyper
play.
palatable foods is different than seed oils per se. But so yeah, that's not our thing. Our thing is let's not major on the minors. Now some would say, no, those are majors. Well, I don't think so. I think that there's other things that are more major, and that's our addiction to the way we feel when we eat, our addiction to excess, our addiction to pleasure, to doing what we want to do.
Our resentment of the idea of embracing the hunger. We resent that concept.
And why do we resent that? And I think that goes to what our problem is, and that's a culture of entitlement. If I feel this way, that's who I am. Right? If I feel like eating enough food to supply a 300-pound man, then I must be a 300-pound man. It's like, well, no, you're actually not. You're a 200-pound man. You're going to be a 300-pound man. What?
No,
You're going to be.
mimicking you.
Because you're allowing your thinking to dictate your identity instead of changing your thinking. So you're like, I feel like eating it. That must be who I am. And you feel like eating until you're 300 pounds. So in your mind, well, that's who I am. I don't want to fight that. I don't want to go against that. And that's why I think one of the biggest reasons we have this issue in our culture is we allow our feelings and the way we think to say, well, that must be who I am then. And we don't, on the other hand, take our thoughts captive and realize I get to choose how I think, and I can choose to think this way or another way.
It's good. With Trainer Joe episodes, especially these longer podcast episodes, it gets deeper.
We settle for who we are instead of becoming who we were meant to be. We settle for who we are instead of becoming who we were meant to be.
That's good. There's a better path out there.
Remember when I told you and your brother, I said, I want y'all to run track one year? Mm-hmm. Did that make sense to you why I did that? And
it was
how
to
that
kind
might
of
affect you?
break us out of this. It was to toughen us up.
It was to toughen you up.
Learn a little bit of discipline and self-denial even.
Yeah, because from my perspective, there's other sports that can toughen you up. But if I may, I would say running a mile and training for that is probably in a lot of ways harder than being on the golf team. Nothing against you golfers out there.
I've been listening to some Tiger Woods mental toughness books, and he was a tough cookie.
Yes.
But this is a little different.
Right, because in golf, you got to be tough to do things repeatedly. But it's not that you can't breathe and the guy says, go. I can't breathe. No, go. And you go anyway. That's what we're talking about pushing. So there's a different kind of toughness for a golfer than for a runner.
Yeah.
So there are different kinds of toughness and getting your mind engaged in that. So either one, you could go with that.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
We're talking about like pushing through, embracing the hunger, embracing tough situations, and how our culture not only kind of resists that, but actually wants to embrace the opposite of that. Like that is what
Embrace your comforts.
So I was going to ask you, going through a 21-day transformation, your program, do you feel like it's like they kind of have to, at least for these 21 days, they have to kind of get into that headspace of you're going to, kind of like you did with us, of making us run track, and it's kind of intense and it's kind of like pushing through that discomfort. Are they going to feel a good amount of discomfort doing a 21-day transformation?
Yes. And in session 1, we talk about the things that are going to make your 21-day transformation successful. And one of the things we talk about is stop the destructive behaviors. And we stop a lot of them because people are doing things and sometimes they don't even realize it, but then they get in our program and they're like, oh, I don't get to keep doing that. It's like, well, not if it's not on my list. We tell you what you get to do for 3 weeks and it's plenty, but there are some things you do or eat that aren't going to be there. And you're like, so you're going to have to embrace that. And so, yes, definitely.
But in a little bit of a different way. I think of like, oh, dramatic weight loss. Man loses 150 pounds and you see a YouTube video.
2 weeks.
It's so focused on them like going so hard out on the treadmill or outside, when in reality that's your program.
That's misleading. I think that's misleading.
Your program is literally, it's not so much in that vein, or
no.
But it's very much in a different way.
It's more in a mental toughness vein.
A mental toughness
is what we're
vein.
going after, and that's what we go through. A little bit like you might in a basic training. Basic training does involve the physical, but there's a lot of mental. Ours is heavier on the mental place than it is on the physical, because that's where it ought to be. You want to do something that's just emphasizing your workout. That's fine. That's great. But that's not what your need is to overcome in the way that you're relating to food. And the obesity epidemic in America is not because of our view of exercise and not because of how we exercise. It's because of our view of entitlement and getting to decide who I am and what I want to feel like. And that's why I tend to look at it kind of woke when we start talking about self-care, because I think a lot of people, self-care means give me what I want.
We'll go back to the
a lot of it seems to be that.
Yeah, go back to the self-care. I didn't mean to jump too far outside of that, but 21-day transformation, he starts new ones
every month,
virtual. You get to interact, talk to Trainer Joe, have him help you, coach you along this journey.
Everybody should do a 21-day transformation.
Everyone should do a 21-day transformation.
If
Good
you haven't
results.
done one, I don't quite understand.
At this point,
did you not see the
average weight loss is 10 pounds.
Amazing benefits people get from doing this? I don't know what else to say, but yeah.
Average weight loss is 10 pounds during those 21 days. Some more, some less. That's the average. What's the website for it? The link is below. The link is in the description. Click on that. Join the upcoming 21-day transformation. Anyway, so yeah, you were going on.
Yeah, we don't want to do the hard things. We tend to be like, what's the easy way? And I have some of that in me. I'm always like, but in my mind, though, I'm like, what's the easiest way to get the results I want? And then when I find
that's not terrible.
Yeah, I want the easiest way to get the results I want. Where a lot of people are like, I just want the easiest way. That's just telling you. I see it, and then I want the results given to me. They're like, I just want to live an easy life, but I want everything that comes with working hard.
I want the hot body, but I also want to
I want the hot body and I want tacos. It's like, bro, let's decide here. What do you really want? And that's where a lot of people miss it, is they want freedom. And in their mind, freedom is I get to do whatever I want and get the results I want. Instead of freedom is I get to have the results I want, because I don't have to do these things that I found difficult to do. Remember the book Do Hard Things years ago? I think we encouraged y'all to read it. And it doesn't matter who wrote it. No, it was one of those I said goodbye to dating guys, I think. One of those guys, the brothers.
Was it really?
That,
okay, maybe you're right.
Do Hard Things. It was when y'all were young. But the idea is, well, who wants to do hard things? And it's saying people that are willing to do the hard things. And I'm not saying we need to look for a life that's hard. I'm saying if you, like Zig Ziglar used to say, if you're tough on yourself, life is going to be infinitely easier on you. And we want this easier life, so we're easy on ourselves, and then we have this incredibly difficult life because we were too easy on ourselves. That's the issue with, in my opinion, a big part of the weight loss issue is, and here's the thing though, a lot of these people struggling with weight loss are doing hard things just in other areas of their lives,
Right.
and they haven't been willing to transfer that over. I'm going to do that for my
because I don't
weight
I don't
loss.
want people to feel like they're
No.
hearing Trainer Joe
Very
and
successful.
Trainer Paul say that they avoid hard things, that you don't have hard things that you're persevering in your life.
They do, and they resent. I don't mean to speak for everybody this, but part of it is a resentment that I'm doing all these hard things. Can I have a break?
Yeah.
Can I have a break? And a lady I counsel some on the phone was talking to me about her husband who struggles a lot with his weight, and he tells her he's elderly, and he says, it's one of the only things I have left is to eat my ice cream. It's one of the only things I have left. So we get to this point in life.
That's deep. That's
It's
emotional.
like, what else do I have other than at least I can eat what I want to eat? And it's like you're digging your grave because you want life to be easier. And it's really a sad thing. But I can see why people would get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it too. And we have empathy.
And another point along that is I watch you on your goal and wanting to be at a high level at anything, and yours happens to be pickleball right now, is the idea of who do you hang around? Who do you spend time with? And that's another thing. We don't want to think we need help. I told you I'm joining this group to help me with my business and other things that I'm doing in my life. And I'm like, they're going to challenge the way I think and do things. And we tend to avoid that. It's like, I don't want to be in a group. I don't want to be with people that are going to call me up or call me out. And so we miss out in that way as well. Don't you think? It's kind of like, leave me alone. I'm going to go do what I want to do. It's like, okay.
You are almost in one podcast episode offering too much good insight. I don't know if they'll be able to
Darn right.
You guys comment below. Let me know. But I mean, is this almost? It's almost too much to digest.
Did I give you too much good stuff?
You maybe
I
did.
apologize.
You maybe did.
I apologize.
This is one podcast.
I'll try to be more
episode.
careful
Save
next
some
time.
for next week.
Be more careful next time.
Save some for your next video. All right. But yeah, you covered a lot. You challenged them a lot, and if they even take one out of like the five big things you
some
covered,
juicy morsels here today, did I not?
it could be life transforming.
Thank you.
Comment below, you guys. Let us know. Seriously, I'm excited to see the comment section. I like seeing the dialogue in there, the responses. What are your thoughts on this video? I know we kind of moved away from Ozempic to cover a lot, but JD Vance talking about Ozempic. Do you kind of agree with him there? Agree with Trainer Joe and I? Do you have some other insights?
Do you agree?
Let us know.
We would like to know.
What stood out to you? All right,
for
guys.
watching.
We'll see you guys in our next video. Trainer Joe. Train your
And transform your
brain, body.
body.